Legends, welcome back to another team preview from the Ruck Infringement podcast. You know me, I'm your host, The Prophet, and I am joined by none other than Titans faithful, Gold Coast Titans tragic, BKR Sports. Blaze, how are you, mate?
Mate, faithful is a great way to put it because to be a Titans fan, my gosh, it ain't easy here, that's for sure. We're going through a rebuild of a rebuild that was a rebuild, and we're rebuilding from that. So, to be a supporter of this club, you really do need to be unbelievably passionate about the city and the community and what we represent, and that's me. So, I might have turned a new leaf where I'm able to criticise this team more than I used to be able to, where I was just positive. But I love this team, man, and happy to be here with you.
Mate, it is a pleasure to have you on. This is the Gold Coast Titans preview. For those tuning in at home, we're going to crack into a bit of ins and outs for the season. To start off, let's look at ins and outs for 2026 for the Gold Coast Titans. Now, Blaze, I'll give you the pleasure of telling us the ins because we're talking a bit off air and we couldn't find too many. But do you want to give us some ins that are coming in for 2026?
Yeah, so look, there's not a great deal of ins, but there's quite a few outs, as this club has obviously brought in Josh Hannay. He is the new coach, and we are going through a complete change. Last year, we switched ownership where Dal Kelly and Rebecca Frizzell, the Frizzells and the Kellys, were part owners, and then they split up, and now the Kellys just own the entirety. So you're going to see a lot of these players going rather than coming in as we currently speak until we get a good idea for the direction this club is going to go into. But we did sign a bunch of guys from like the Panthers youth system. We also signed Luke Summerton. We've got Jensen Tamapo, Curtis Morin. Is it this year or next year that he comes in? Curtis Morin. I think Morin is this year. I think he is in this year. We've got Lachlan Ilias. Lachlan Ilias from the Dragons, and Max Fianet as well. He comes across, was at the Dragons now. Then he went to the Dolphins, and now he's here. We've also picked up Adam Christensen. But look, not too many massive signings that have been brought in overall.
Mate, let's talk about these losses now. Obviously, the biggest significant one, Dave Fafita, going to South Sydney, looking absolutely fit at the moment. But also, mate, even on a smaller scale, Brian Kelly, been at the club for quite a while now. Is he a big loss for your boys?
Yeah, so first in regards to Brian Kelly, it's an interesting one because Brian was absolutely loved at this club. He had a very topsy-turvy relationship with the fans. Not like he was a great dude. Brian Kelly, I couldn't say anything more positive about him as a person, but as a player, he was the definition of rocks and diamonds, where sometimes he would be absolutely electric and he would be the best center in the game, and then at other times he would throw the ball like a Zach Lomax flick pass to Rose Zed in the stadium, and it just, unfortunately, those rocks kind of towards the back end were coming in more often than the diamonds was, and that's kind of why I guess we've said see you later in that sense, and we are going in that different direction. And this club does want to move past the continuity that we've seen over the last couple of years, where they really backed this team in 2020, 2021 under Justin Holbrook, which this is basically still his team. Des didn't make too many changes when he's there, but Des obviously did bring back Brian Kelly from Manly when he was there. So, look, it's a sizable name loss based off of the duration that BK was there, and he's a huge player in regards to the team morale because he did win like the Players Player of the Year quite frequently for the club. But at the end of the day, we did need to go a different direction. We need to go away from this flash in the pan kind of style where it's only attack, and forgetting about the defense. I actually mentioned on a video that came out today on my channel where I said that this team is all about, we're going to score more than you, and we don't really care about defense, but we probably also won't score more than you because our defense is so bad. That's kind of how this club operates. Brian Kelly was unfortunately a big part of that. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on BK. It's a tough loss in certain ways, but it's also a good moving on in other aspects.
Mate, the other one, Lofty Khan Pereira, heads over to the Warriors. One of the fastest men I've ever seen run. Mate, is he another loss that you're not too concerned about?
I think that a winger like Loffy is hard to come by in regards to the speed because you can't teach speed.
Mm,
But defensively, unfortunately, was a real big problem for Loff. Now, that was
yeah,
also an issue alongside Brian Kelly, where those two guys just didn't really work out alongside each other. So we are going to miss out in the attacking department there, and I think he can really kill it with the Warriors alongside Rocco Berry. He's more known for his defense compared to his attack, and
yeah.
Loffy's more known for his attack rather than his defense. But overall, I don't think that that's going to be the be-all and end-all of what this team is. And I guess it is going away from that flash in the pan kind of stuff as well, and he doesn't necessarily run the ball back as hard as I guess the club wanted him to. So, look, it's a frustrating one because statistically he's amazing in regards to the attack.
Yeah.
But we need to go away from this real lacking defense that the Titans have pretty much had their entire history. Yeah, sure, 2010 happened, but overall, the entire history, it's always been about attack first, defend never.
Yeah, mate. Look, still a fantastic squad that they've got put together. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from there. But, mate, let's talk a little.
I just want to, just before we move in, because you did mention David Fafita, and I think he's a really big discussion point here. Dave is the most unfortunate situation of this team. Like, I want to see the best for Dave. You know, he has had a really up and down career with the Titans where he was incredible. He came in, Broncos fans like to claim he was at his best at the Broncos. Statistically, they're incorrect because the first couple of years, he was actually much more significant than when he was at the Broncos, but then he completely fell off. And the media didn't portray it truthfully. He actually had a lot of injuries throughout those years that they wouldn't speak about, and that's why his form was so down. So I'm really looking forward to how he can bounce back with the Rabbitohs, even though there are injury concerns already with Dave there that I'm hearing at the Rabbitohs. But he, on his day, is the best back row in the competition. But like Alofiana Khan-Pereira, he is just the type of guy that is a bit surplus to demand right now, where he can attack and he can score, but we do need a lot more of those gritty style players, and I don't feel like David is one of those gritty style players. He is a massive benefit to a Rabbitohs team that has plenty of X factor and will attack through him and use him, but the Titans just weren't in the right position to keep Dave, and obviously it has been quite tumultuous. So I think that is a big loss. It is a big loss, but it's not a detrimental loss for mine.
I think Roosters fans will be kicking themselves. You know, he backflipped on the Chooks to stay with the Titans and then goes to their arch enemy in South Sydney. So, yeah, look, definitely tumultuous. You're exactly right when you say that. But, man, he's looking fit. And, you know, I hate to say that. He's playing in Rabbitohs colours, but he is looking good. All right.
Are you a Roosters fan, are you?
I am a Chooks man. Yes, I am a Chooks man. So, seeing him in Rabbitohs colours makes me shudder a little bit.
To be fair, though, mate, you did. The Roosters fans were either going to lose Angus Crichton, or they were going to get Dave Fafita, or they were going to keep Crichton and not get Dave Fafita. So I guess, regardless, I know it sucks to see, I guess, Dave go to the Rabbitohs of all teams, but you know, you still got to keep Angus Crichton. And last year might have been a bit of a down year for him, but overall, he's one of the best back rowers in the comp. So I don't think you should be too disappointed there.
Yeah, he's still a fantastic player. It just would have been interesting to see how Fafita went in a team like that. I don't know. I mean, we've seen – I mean, look, that's for a Roosters preview, but we've seen players go to that club like Brendan Smith who just haven't fit the system. But, mate, let's keep on the Titans here. 2025 review. Now, not the greatest year for Gold Coast. 16, 18 points, minus 199 point differential. Mate, as a you know, you're a passionate fan. I've seen your videos. I know how strong you are on your Titans, mate. What went wrong in 2025?
What went right is the real question here. Look, it was a really, really bad year, and it was just the end of a real miniature era of the Justin Holbrook and Des Hasler fiasco, realistically, because I still don't believe Des had full control of the team, but I also think that what Des did control the team just wasn't good, and it was very old style, where he was successful at Manly, and that was kind of the operation system that he was working under. So for mine, you know, it really all just culminated in last season, because that team was built when Des came in. The ownership and the club said this team can win the competition. We just come off the back of that 2021 where the Titans had finished in the top 8 and 8th position before losing to you guys in a very extraneous circumstances. I was live for that. That was heartbreaking to do on live stream. So that happened, and the club was very high on these guys like Tino and Dave, and and the likes, and it just obviously petered out, and the continuity went too long, and they figured out just wasn't going to be the go. And then last year comes, and it was absolutely just a shit show. It started off really nicely where they beat you guys, actually, the Roosters, and the Newcastle Knights, and it looked like it might have been a much more positive season. But then they just completely collapsed. And I did say, I did set the signs in those 2 games where they won them, but I could tell that the longer the season was going to go, it wasn't going to be pretty, and that did end up being right. We're just very lucky the Knights were worse than us in the season, and also very lucky the Tigers. We always beat the Tigers. It's our only team that we've got a winning percentage against, and obviously we came back against them in the final round. So, look, it was a year that I was actually a little bit grateful for in regards to the attack was shown that it's still not is the best here on the Gold Coast. Everyone has this notion that they are only attack and there is no defense, and that their attack is really good. It actually isn't that spectacular. It's not really. Like, they were 4th last in 2024 for attack, but everyone said, and 4th last for defense. They're the exact same, but everyone said they can attack, they can't defend. And then last year they couldn't really attack and they couldn't defend, but they did finish higher on point scoring than the Warriors. But that tells you a lot about that top 6 there. So, look, yeah, I was disappointed. From an outsider's perspective, I can see it's just another year for the Titans, but even I was disappointed with the club last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with some of the caliber of players that you have, you do look at that club and go, you do expect more. And I think 2026 is going to be a real good year for that, because I think Josh Hannay, he's a good coach. I know he hasn't proven himself technically as a head coach as much, but I think he's a very good coach. And we've seen what he's done as a player. He's a fantastic player as well. So if he can get the most out of the Titans in 2026, who knows what could happen. But, mate, Tino, for me, was the big one. When Tino went down injured, it was like the Titans lost all hope, all confidence, because he's such a great leader for you guys. And it just looked like they didn't know how to recover. The forwards really rely on what Tino does, the work he gets through, how strong he is. And, obviously I thought Beau Fermor really stood up. I thought he was great, really stood up in the absence of Tino. But, yeah, it was really hard to sort of find that grit and determination again. But I think, look, if Tino's fit in 2026, you can go a long way, mate, to making a play for the finals, hopefully.
Yeah, might win the comp. That's what I'm thinking. No, look, I think this team just needs a lot more. Funnily enough, I'll use the word continuity in a better version this time. But I do think it just needs more continuity of those main star players this year. There is a lot of concerns and still a lot of question marks. But that is going to happen in the start of another rebuild. You are going to have those question marks on how Josh Hannay is going to want this team to play. Are these players the right players for him? Does he have the guys here that will suit exactly how he wants to get it going? I do love what Josh Hannay has already brought. The boys are all very, very happy with him. They felt extremely disconnected with Des and thought that he was just so old school, and it just was not the way of how rugby league is going. And we did find that out on a public way and in the game as well. So they're happy with him. It's a lot more of a clear direction in regards to what he wants already, and it is fresh. We are going to see a lot more of the players and whatnot having a more public ability as well, because Des was completely closed off to the media and didn't want anyone to have anything to do with the players. Like, he actually, at Parkwood, where our training grounds are, so we never had fences around the training field, but he put fences up around the training field. So unless you were close with the club, you weren't actually allowed to go on and watch them train anymore. And that is, for a club like ours, which is meant to be based around community, because of how unsuccessful they are, you have to rely on that community factor. It just wasn't great. So yeah, Josh Hannay brings in a lot of inexperience, but also experience in the fact that he was with the Sharkies when they got to the preliminary final on multiple occasions and did his job there as an assistant coach. So if Tino's firing, this team's firing. Questions in regards to the harvest, but this team does have a lot of upside potential this year.
Absolutely, mate. All right, let's jump into a bit of SuperCoach NRL Fantasy. We mainly do SuperCoach on our pod, but we're going to go through a couple of players you at home may be interested in, give you some price points, whether we think they're a great buy or not. And BKR might even give us some stats on how they've performed over the past couple of years. But let's start off with the main man, Jaden Campbell, 711K. He's been a pretty good half in SuperCoach over the past couple of seasons. I think when there's sort of no pressure on someone coming through, in the halfback role that he really thrives. He knows that it's his own. He's got that job security, which is really good. I'm avoiding him this year for SuperCoach only because there's so many cheap options to start for halfback. You got Daniel Atkinson at Dragons. You've also got Jonah Pezzett as well. So for me, he's an avoid early because he's premium option. Maybe for a run home, depending on how the Titans form looks. But mate, thoughts on Campbell?
This is a very interesting thought process because we do have Zane Harrison that is knocking on the door. If you don't know who Zane Harrison is, he's played on a 19th New South Wales. He's won pretty much everything there is to do with PBC and in the younger development systems, the youth systems. He's a very good player coming through. We also have signed Lachlan Ilias, that is putting pressure into that halves department. I think that I love JC. I think it would be a bit of I think you should wait to see how these first 5 games go. SuperCoach wise, I don't really play SuperCoach, but with that being said, I'd wait for the first couple of games to understand if this team is going to click, because otherwise Josh Hannay does have different players at his disposal there. I think Jaden will still stay in the team, but he might get shifted to the 5'8", because I'm very intrigued on how AJ Brimson's going to go in that 5'8", because I don't think that he's a 5'8", but I think he has good aspects of it. But with BK going, I would have actually just straight up expected him to go into the centre department, but he is demanding to play in the spine, which is what we're being led to believe through the media. So I think there's too much. It's too volatile in regards to those halves right now. They can change. There is multiple different options there. I think it's too early for Zane Harrison, but if the season goes haywire early and this team does go backwards and continues on the form from last year, I would not be surprised if JC did move into that 6 and they did give Zane Harrison a crack. And I don't know how much that impacts his fantasy in SuperCoach. Like I said, I don't really play it as much, but just be wary of that.
Absolutely. We'll get down to him soon. Hopefully, it might be a nice little cheap option if he does get a run. But let's jump into our next player, Tino. Now, we know the pedigree that Tino has. He's available second row, 687K. Now, last year, he was actually available second row and front row dual, which was nice and juicy. You can play him in both. This year, he's lost the front row dual, so he's only second row, which isn't great because, there's to start the year, there's lots of good second row cheap options coming through. But if you are looking for premium, Tino will get you good SuperCoach points. He'll do the job. He is an option that will get you 60, 70 points every week. And so if you are interested in that, I'm not going to say don't jump on him, but I'm going in a different direction. Mate, thoughts on Tino for SuperCoach?
That's interesting that he is not in a front row prop position in the game, because I think that Tino will be the prop this year. He will be there, especially with Jimmy Jolliffe getting injured. Damon Jolliffe, he is injured with an ACL and a contract year, which is brutal for him, and he's a great player. But look, Tino should go into that front row alongside Mo. I actually had a conversation with Justin Holbrook myself and said when he was playing 13, I was like, look, he should be a front rower. And then soon enough, luckily enough for me, Tino did go into that front row position and killed it. And then he got pushed. Yeah, it was all me. It was all me. No, it's just really, really funny timing. But no, Tino in the prop, I prefer massively. I think that there is also word that he might not be captain. There is word that they are looking elsewhere at that, because the fact of the matter is I think that Tino is such an incredible player, but I think he needs to be very specific minded in regards to what he's doing, rather than having so many different options, so many different things to think about on the field. And that's why I didn't really like him in the 13, because I don't want him to really have that passing game. I just want him to really charge the middle of the field and absolutely dominate, which is what he can do. So I think that it's a really good option, because he will make a bucket load of tackles. He will put a mountain of effort in. He never stops with the effort. And if he is in this prop department, and if the word does happen to be true where they do move from Tino as the captain, then I think that's an absolutely outstanding shout.
Yeah, for sure. And if he does start at front row, I think they go to round 6, and depending how many games they've played there, they do give the dual back. So hopefully if he does land that dual, definitely juicy. For me, I don't have him currently. We're going to move down the list to someone who a lot of people are getting in their team this year, 495K, Keno Kinney. Now, electric fullback. What a player. What a player. Coming back from, obviously, injury. Didn't play too much last season, but made at 495K. It's very, very cheap for a player of his caliber.
Yeah, Keanu Kenny is an absolute star. You know, we've had for the last couple of years, a fullback battle between AJ Brimson, Jaden Campbell, and Keanu Kenny.
Mm,
And you never would have expected Keanu Kenny to just make it his own immediately. AJ Brimson, obviously, this club sees long-term value in him. They signed him to 2030. That was at a really
yeah,
awkward time when just as Keanu Kenny was just about to break out. I don't know if that contract would have been as long otherwise. But Jaden Campbell was also there. For him to have forced these two guys out of it, AJ is a Queensland representative, and Jaden Campbell was, I guess, knocking on the door at one stage of being in and around that team.
yeah.
But these guys were really good fullbacks, and I'd argue AJ's best position is still fullback, but Keanu is just superb. New Zealand international. I think that if you're going to go on the Titans, he's probably the safest bet because he will score tries. He is a speedster. He really is elusive and gets heaps of tackle breaks kind of deal. I love what we're going to see here from Keanu Kenny, and I don't know if that's cheap or not, but if that is cheap in SuperCoach Fantasy, I'd be locking that straight up immediately because this is going to be a big year for him.
Absolutely. Well, you look at the difference. James Tedesco is probably one of the most expensive fullbacks in the game. He's about $895K, and Keanu Kenny at $495. So $400K cheaper to start your season is not a bad price point there, especially if he's playing every week. So, mate, we're going to move down the list to another really good option who a lot of people are jumping on, and we mentioned his name a little bit earlier, but Chris Randall, mate, $456K. He's second row in the game. From all reports, he may have that lock position locked up.
Not a back rower, that's for sure. Glad that we've seen, hopefully, at the back of that. And he's a great utility. I don't mind him off the bench coming into the back row, but not as a starting back rower. He can play pretty much anywhere in the forwards, in the props, in the hooker, in the back row, in the 13, he can do it. But I've always said, as he was when he first came in, when he played that 13, that is his position. He just makes a mountain of tackles, like 50-plus tackles kind of deal. You're not going to see a massive deal of attacking upside from him. That's why the hooker role didn't work, because he actually was originally a hooker at the Newcastle Knights and then came and I think that was at the time where we had Aaron Clark and him both playing in the number 9. And then they did obviously shift him out to the 13. I think this is an outstanding pick. I think Chris Randall is actually one of our most underrated players, if not our most underrated players, when he is playing in the 13. So I think this is a great selection. And he will, if he is at 13, if he gets that back row, stay away from mine. But if he gets the 13, absolutely.
I couldn't agree more, mate. Could not agree more. He's currently in my team. I'm thinking he's getting that lock position. Mate, we're going to move into some cheapies now. Now, Joshua Paxton, he has come on the scene from nowhere lately. Really, really cheap, $275K. Mate, if he can lock down that second row spot, could be interesting.
Definitely would be interesting. You know, the back row spot is completely open now. Obviously, Bo Firma is his partner, but the back row spot gets completely open with David Fafita going to the Rabbitohs. You've got guys like Cleese Haas there. You've got Aramahau who could have a crack there. You do have the option that they still go with Chris Randall in the 11, and Cleese goes into the 13 because Cleese doesn't mind playing in that lock, probably his best position as well. Or back row. But overall, this is an interesting selection that I would still wait out. If you're willing to just kind of put him in your team in the back burner and hope that he does kind of just get his opportunity and takes it full grasp, then sure, I think that's the way. But I would be very, very cautious because that back row is very susceptible to change right now, where we don't know if Chris Randall's going to be the 13 in the back row, and we don't know about Cleese Haas, and there is guys around like Aramahau and whatnot.
I love it. The next cheap option is Cooper Bye, of course, son of former Melbourne legend Marcus. He is second row, $235K, another cheap option. I did hear recently, though, that he's got a suspension or an injury, something like that.
He wouldn't have a suspension. He's only played the one game and he didn't do anything wrong in that game, I don't believe. An injury. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I haven't heard about unless it happened in the Papua New Guinea Pacific Bowl, but honestly, I'm not too sure about it.
While we're talking, I'm going to quickly have a look. Cooper Bye. Let's have a look. But he would be a great. Oh, okay. He was on his way to training at the Titans headquarters when.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Prompting.
Yeah, this was very, very recently. This was like last week. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think he's been cleared. So. Look, he's a great option. He's another one that could play 13, could play that back row, probably gets a bench spot at this stage.
Dude, I've never seen someone this hyped as a young lad across the competition from the Titans? Because usually the Titans are an easy, just talk down upon them, just laugh at them, take the piss, who
Yeah.
cares kind of deal. But Cooper Bye has made such an impact in his first game. His first touch of the ball, he actually scored a try. It got brought back because unfortunately Keanu Kenny went up and impacted the guy catching it. Didn't actually do anything really wrong in regards to he would have scored anyway. But it was just that it was super unfortunate. Anyway, Cooper Bye scored, got taken off him. He was incredible in that game. He just was a monster, a machine, so young. I hope that they do lock him down. I think long term he probably does end up going to Papua New Guinea later on in his career. But
Yeah.
I would like to keep the Storm away for the time being, because if the Storm are knocking, the whole NRL is talking about him being, the rookie of the year kind of deal. It's showing that he's a pretty damn well good player, and he's got a great opportunity here. Maybe he could get that 13, to be honest with you, and that's why you could see Chris Randall in that back row. Maybe he does get a starting spot later on, or he does just get utilised, with this front row rotation. He's got a bucket load of potential, and I think that he is a good shout to be getting great game minutes this year. So I think you have to go with him in your team.
Yeah, absolutely, especially for so cheap as well. Now, mate, a wing spot up for grabs in this team with no Khan Pereira. We know Jojo Fafita probably plays on one. Now, everyone probably thought Tony Francis would occupy the other, but a name that has come up recently, now I may butcher this, but Siali Fuimani, is that how you say it?
I think it's Faimani, but people understand what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. He looks like a great option to take that wing spot.
Look, it's a really difficult position because we have lost Loffy, and if AJ was in the centre, you probably would be seeing a guy like Maxi Fino out there, or you'd be seeing difference. But I have really not much to go on here in regards to Siali. I don't know much, but he is getting really high reps from within this club. And Tony Francis got his opportunity. I don't think that he had a stunning grasp of his first grade attempt when he came in. I think his first game was against the Broncos. He scored a try and then he actually got injured very quickly. I don't think Tony Francis really showed it, but there is reports that he is looking fit in this preseason. So he is the more experienced player between the two. Not that there's a great deal of significant gap between the experience there, but I would not be surprised to see Tony get a crack again at some point, but I really think that Josh Hannon wants to go this new direction, and Siali Faimani does give you a great look in for that.
Faimani at 201K as well, one of the cheapest players you can get in SuperCoach. So if he does land the spot and he's playing 80 minutes, I think he's going to be almost 100% owned. But
I think the biggest thing in regards to Siali is that this team is going through this change, and we don't know in regards to these halves, and a winger is going to be heavily reliant upon the attacking motion and the attacking fluidity and rhythm of what the halves are doing. So I would be very, very cautious in regards to how much ball he's going to get, and how did Loffy do in SuperCoach? It's probably going to be a relatively similar amount there. So I don't know how he did, but overall, I'd still be very, very cautious, but he's so cheap, you may as well.
Yeah, exactly. I tend to steer clear of wingers in general. In my center wings, I usually just do 4 centers because they seem to get the ball. They seem to have more attacking output. But the last player I want to touch on before we finish up with SuperCoach is Zane Harrison, the man you mentioned before, halfback, 201K as well. So if he does knock down the door, let's say he has an incredible preseason and Hene just can't afford to not have him there. He brings him in at 201K. I'd definitely be tempted. Tell us a bit more about Harrison, mate.
I think this is a massive wait and see. You wouldn't even be looking at it until halfway, 3/4 through the season for mine, because he's so young. They will really try and test out this halves combo of Jaden Campbell and AJ Brimson. And if that doesn't work, then you'd see Lachlan Ilias get more of an opportunity than Zane, because they're so scared about ruining Zane Harrison's potential and future. We've seen that the Gold Coast has been a cemetery for halfbacks throughout its inception since Scott Prince. Scott Prince was the last really, really good one. Besides that, Ash Taylor, Tanner Boyd, Toby Sexton, Jamal Fogarty, who's solid but nothing spectacular, but he was at least solid. And then just Kane Elgie, guys that have come in, and it just hasn't worked out whatsoever. So I think they're very, very concerned about that. And I wouldn't even be thinking about Zane for a while unless injuries really mounted up, because the position, it would need injuries right now. But I did have him as my breakout player from the Titans outside of Cooper Bye. as my breakout player this year on the basis that if he gets it, I don't think he lets it up.
I love it, mate. Fantastic. Well, that's it for SuperCoach. Don't forget, you can check out our Ruck Infringement Podcast Cup. It's running on SuperCoach now. The code is 693809. I'll drop that in our description. Jump in, take on me, the Prophet, take on all the other boys. The Stats Man, Dongle's in there too. We're playing for some SC Championship rings, the best rings going around. So check out SC rings today. All right, let's jump into some players to watch for 2026. Now, this can be a rookie. It can be a player who's played for multiple years. Someone you're excited to watch this season, BK.
Oh, someone. Are you talking about, like, this is specifically for the Titans, yes? Just to clarify.
Yeah, for Titans, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't mention that, so I was like, oh, maybe we'll David Fafita, but obviously that's another club. For us, I guess I could give you a super obvious one here and say Cooper Pye. I'm going to go against the grain, but I'll give the obvious one of Cooper Pye. That's a no doubter there. I'm actually really excited, and this will surprise a lot of people, to see Sam Verrills in the number 9, because when Sam Verrills was at the Roosters, he was a very balanced player where he could attack and he could defend. He was their hooker when they won the premiership in 2019. And Sam Verrills is a player that kind of went a little bit backwards on the attack because Des didn't want him to. Like, I know his family, and his family have said this. Like, he was told not to attack. He was told to just defend. That's why you see his numbers, like 50 tackles, 45 tackles kind of deal. Like, he was busting those tackles like crazy, but the attack wasn't there. So I feel like with Josh Hannay coming in, he's going to create a lot more of a balanced output for Sam Verrills. And I do think that by the end of his career, provided he's not as injured and provided the injuries don't hurt him as much as we have seen, he could go down as our best hooker if he does get this opportunity with Josh Hannay. So I think that if it goes hairy early on, then we'll probably move on from Sam Verrills long term. But if it really does lock down, I think that he can be a massive player this year.
Mate, I love that. For me, Beau Fermor, I mentioned him before. He's a player who I've always admired at the Titans. I just feel that he really steps up, even in the games where it looks like you may be done, you may be getting 40 put on you. Beau Fermor stands up and gets the job done. And he's a player I've always thought highly of, and I think he's going to have another good year in 2026. He's got that spot. No one's really chasing him down at the moment. Probably the other spots up for grabs more so on the back row. I think Beau Fermor has his spot covered. Let's hope there's no injuries. I'd love to see him have a full preseason and a full year as well in 2026. So he's my player to watch. All right, mate, here's the exciting part. Let's do the ladder finish for 2026. Where are your Titans going to finish this year?
So this could be subject to change for everyone because we are filming this a whole month away from the season. We haven't seen any pre-season just yet. And I don't usually put my season predictions out until the week that it starts. But dearie me, this is such a... You could put him anywhere, really. Well, you're not going to put him anywhere above, like, if you're going to think potentially a high season of 8th. I think 8th could be like a ceiling. But the floor is still 17th. It's anywhere between 8th and 17th. So usually when you have teams like ours, the fan base will collectively agree to like a 10 through 12 section. So I'm going to go with the bang middle of 11. If you're a struggling fan base, you don't want to predict your team last. You want to give at least a competitive notion. I think we are going to be competitive, but we're not going to have enough just yet. I think 2027 is a year we could push forward with a lot more of that continuity with this new, fresh vibe and team and energy that we have on the Gold Coast. So for this year, I'll go 11th, but next year I could put us in 8th.
Mate, I love that. I've actually got you guys at 12th as well. The main reason I think that Josh Hannay improves this team vastly. I think it's going to be a massive improvement as we saw from 2025. I think he's going to get the most out of the players. And I think, as you said, it was the same with the Bulldogs. Serrato took over. They were 15th. Then they went to 6th the following season, from that point. So I think you guys finished 12th. Then you start making plans for the top 8 in 2027. So I've got you 12. I think you definitely improved from 2025. You've got them 11th currently. But as you said, subject to change. We've got preseason trials coming up. Going to be very, very exciting. All right, before we finish off, mate, any last words? Fire up the Titans fans for this season.
No, I think that if you're a Titans fan, I think you've got the exact same thought process as me, where this team could be anything. It could be awful. It really could be. I don't want to put that out of the equation. But also, I think that there is plenty of positives and positive opportunity here for this club to improve. How much that improves is another question. But we've seen a constant couple of years of regression from that 2021, which was also an unsuccessful season because they were more losses than wins, but they just scrambled into the top 8 with the Raiders and Sharks losing in the last game of the season. But I think that there is plenty of positives to this fresh start. We've been here before. We know how to go through these rebuilds, and we know how to get through these frustrating times. But there is just a fresh feeling with Josh Hannay. We've got Matty Johns around the club now. We've got plenty of people talking about this club, and going forward, I just think that we've got a whole different new direction. So I think you get excited by that if you're a Titans fan, and we'll be live for every single game. So if you're watching it, we'll be there, and you can celebrate with us, and you can cry with us as well.
I love it, mate. And where can people find you? Just on your YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube or Instagram. We're live for every single rugby league game, whether the Titans are playing or not. I'll be live for it. We obviously have the live chat, and you guys can put in all your opinions, and we respond and have a bit of fun and a bit of banter throughout every single rugby league game. But also on Instagram, we do some posts and whatnot as well.
We love it. All right. Well, that is all we have time for our Gold Coast Titans preview for 2026. I'd like to thank BKR Sport for jumping on. Of course, I'm the proper Joey. Don't forget to check out our good friends at Wick Coffee. Head over to Wick for the best coffee. Look, they provide all my daily goodness. I wake up and the only coffee I choose is Wick. So check out Wick Coffee today for all your coffee needs. But until next time, I'm Joey. That's Blaze. Be good.